in the 14th district. You have a choice. You don't need Joyce. What was the? Oh. The other question was about the tax cut, and this is great, folks, because I voted against the budget bill last year, House Bill 59. That had an income tax cut in it. It was the same bill that raised everybody's sales taxes in this room. Kim was talking about sales taxes. Raised all your sales taxes and also raised your real estate taxes in some very subtle ways that you'll just begin to start to understand because it removes some credits. That budget bill increased spending by $7 billion, one of the largest increases in decades in Ohio spending, increased taxes, I said sales and real estate taxes, but it had this income tax manipulation in it that would allow some businesses to take and have lower income tax. Well, okay, I'm all about reducing taxes. And if there had just been that tax decrease, my goodness, I'd be all for it. But the fact is, we needed to increase the taxes to pay for that budget, and I wasn't willing to do that. What you hear is, oh, he voted against the income tax decrease. Nonsense. I voted against the sales tax increase, and I do it again.
Hi, Matt. Hi, my name is Dave Lindrose. In 2010, we took back the House of Representatives, yet it seems that John Boehner is afraid to not allocate funds for Obama's programs. And what do you think happened when we took back the House? Why are we not flexing our muscle, or so to speak? And what will you do? How will you deal with John Boehner? What will you?
Well, it's really pretty simple. We just need a new Speaker of the House. Maybe not so simple, but that is the solution. You ask a very interesting question about Obamacare and defunding Obamacare, because the House controls the spending of the money. We know that, right? Now, and the House has passed, I don't know, 36 times laws to repeal Obamacare, knowing that they would go nowhere. But the one thing they could do to defund Obamacare, they don't do. Now, there are some that will argue there's some political motivation behind it. I don't think there's any question. It's all about politics and playing politics. But folks, I don't want to play politics with the future of our healthcare system. I don't want to play politics with going so far down the Obamacare road that we can't repair the damage that's being done right now. You know, our healthcare insurance industry is going to collapse. And we're not going to have anything left except the hospitals over here and the government over here, and we'll have to say, oh well, time for single payer. That's where we're headed. And every day that goes by that we don't defund Obamacare and stop it in its tracks, we're getting closer and closer to that day. It's not an easy battle. You know, there are some folks in Congress that know what needs to happen. In Ohio, we have some very good congressmen, actually. Dave Joyce happens to be the lowest rated conservative congressman, a Republican congressman in the state of Ohio. So that shows you where he lines up. But I'm going to join those good conservatives in Congress, and we're going to do everything we can to stop Obamacare. First on the list of things to get done.
Hi, Carl Pistola, Munson Township.
Yes, Carl, I know you.
Glad to hear that you...
like your button.
Oh, you love it. Glad to hear that you support term limits. However, and I no problem, 12 years is just about right. But in the House of Representatives, right now, those congressmen spend 50% of their time on the campaign trail. How about 3-4-year terms, then you're out?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because even as a state representative, I recognize the 2-year terms, you're constantly in campaign mode, and it's not a good thing. I haven't really thought about extending the terms. You know, the way that the government was originally set up, of course, we were not supposed to be in Washington 12 months out of the year, passing law after law after law. I think down in Columbus now we're at over 400 proposed bills in this 2-year period. You know, we could do with fewer politicians and a lot fewer laws being passed, in my mind. Yes, Alice?
What I wonder is, what is the most effective way to support you?
Oh, I'm
Is
so
it attendance at meetings?
I'm so glad she asked this question, Alice. Thanks, Mom. No, yeah, the question was, what's the most effective way to support me? Thank you so much. Well, the most effective and the most important really is prayer. Because, folks, when we win this election, people are going to say, how the heck did he do that? And the answer is, it was God's grace brought down by the power of the prayer of the people. That's going to be the first answer I'm going to give. But it wouldn't hurt to contribute either. You know, my opponent has bragged, he's got over $1 million. $1 million? Where do you get $1 million in 2 years in office? I don't know. But I don't have $1 million. What I do have is conviction and passion. And frankly, I don't think Dave Joyce has either. So we're going to win. But go to mattlynch.com. You can contribute at mattlynch.com. You can send me an email, as I said. You can sign up for a sign. You can do all of those things. Yes, sir.
Hi, Matt. I'm Tom Sue from Johnny County, Munson Township. I want to ask you about the convention of states. Can you elaborate on how you feel about that making the change, basically state power versus federal power?
Yes, the Convention of the States. How many people know about the Article 5 Convention of the States in Mark Levin's book? Okay, so great book. The Liberty Amendments, well worth reading. And Mark Levin, who is a constitutional law scholar, was in the Reagan Justice Department. He essentially was suggesting that the states propose, call a convention and propose new constitutional amendments, one of which is the Balanced Budget Amendment that I talked about, and a number of others. It's never been done. It was never been done. Every constitutional amendment has always gone through Congress and then to the states for ratification. This process, the states would begin by having a convention. They would propose an amendment, and ultimately would go out to the states for approval and ratification. Wouldn't really involve Congress much, if at all. I'm a fan of the process, and the reason for that is because I am concerned whether Congress can actually do what it needs to do to correct its own problems. You know, I talked about term limits. I'm deadly serious about an amendment for term limits. Can we get Congress to pass that amendment and send it to the states? Much more difficult. But what's happening now with the Convention of the States is that we need 34 states to call for that constitutional amendment. And that happens to be strictly for a balanced budget amendment. And I think we're at 25 now, because I think another state just passed a resolution. So we're getting pretty close where it might happen. And what's anticipated is that as the number of states signing on to that convention process approaches 34, the congressmen are going to start to get kind of nervous, and they themselves will pass an amendment. And that really would be the best process, because it's the most controlled process, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. And folks, if that pot begins to boil, if we're able to get that constitutional amendment being pushed by the Convention of the States, I can guarantee you that I will be in Washington pushing for us doing it through the Congress and getting it done as quickly as possible. The Balanced Budget Amendment, the Term Limit Amendment, and Mark Levin's book really has a couple of other very good ideas about how to control the federal government. So I'm all for the process.
We're going to end the questions now, and the candidates that are still here, George Phillips was ill. They'll be out in the foyer there. We have a couple of closing remarks, but thank you so much, Matt Lynch. Okay, I'd like to recognize any other candidates that are here tonight. So if you are a candidate for office, if you would please stand. Are any candidates here? And I can't see very well back there. Okay, Becky Lynch, precinct.
My cousin. My cousin.
Okay, and Sarah Fowler, running for State Board of Education.